Okay, well, let's keep going. This is going pretty well. The selfie stick is really making it. The ability to walk around makes me feel happier. When I was stuck in front of a sort of iPad, that wasn't really doing it for me. But this is really a lot better. I can kind of walk around like I would normally in a classroom, so this makes me feel better. And it's sun shining out. I'm getting some good sun. All right, so let's keep going here. So Iago, um, uh, Rodrigo says, I can't believe that she's into Cassio. She's full of a most blessed condition. And Iago says, blessed fig's end. Um, this is a really crucial exchange between the two of them that really shows the difference in character, right? He says she's full of a most blessed condition. She's not just going to sleep with some random guy because he's good looking. She's blessed. She's special. He says, blessed fig's end. Like a fig's end is like, it's a part of a fig is a like a fruit from a tree, and the fig's end you just cut off and throw away. So he says she's blessed fig's end. Like that's worthless. Are you crazy? He says the wine she drinks is made of grapes. That's one of those Shakespeare lines that students are like, what? What is that? What could that possibly mean? Like, 'cause sometimes you don't understand Shakespeare because the words are too complicated. But sometimes you'll read a perfectly normal sentence like, the wine she drinks is made of grapes. And you're like, okay, well, I understood all those words, but I still don't know what it means. It just means she's like everybody else. She's a completely normal person. She drinks wine made of grapes. That's what everybody does. The expression we use in modern day English is kind of, well, he puts his pants on one leg at a time. It just means she's a normal, everyday person, and she's not, because of course Rodrigo thinks she's this special, holy goddess of love that he can't stop thinking about. And Iago's like, what are you talking about? She's just a regular person. She likes good looking people. She wants to get fucked. That's it. Um, uh, so he says, if she had been blessed, she never would have loved them more. Like, if she was such a blessed person, she wouldn't be with this black guy. Blessed pudding. Again, another worthless thing to bless, like he was blessing Desdemona. Did thou not see her paddle with the palm of his hand? Did thou not mark that? Meaning that her and Cassio touched hands. You remember this in the movie. This is when Cassio says, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you," and I think he kisses her hand, or she kisses his hand, or something. It's a perfectly normal, everyday, polite thing. Everybody does that in fancy rich people in the world of Othello. But Iago tries to make it seem like something dirty. Um, Rodrigo tries to resist him. He says, yes, but that was but courtesy, right? That's a normal thing. He says lechery by this hand, meaning it's lust. That proves they wanted to have sex. He takes an everyday thing that everybody does, and he makes it seem dangerous or special in some way. Because I think it's the difference between, he could just tell a lie. He could just say, well, I saw them making out in a garden. But he doesn't do that. He says, didn't you see that part where he kissed her hand? And Rodrigo's like, yeah, but that's normal. Everybody does that. And he says, no. You're not understanding what you're looking at. That meant that they want to have sex with each other and they're secretly fucking. And so it's a crucial form of the manipulation that Iago does, is he doesn't just say things that aren't true. He takes true things that are innocent and makes them seem bad or dangerous in some way. His lechery, an index, an obscure prologue to the history of lust and foul thought. So he thinks kissing her hand, he compares to a table of contents in a book. Because the table of contents just suggests what's going to be in the book, but all the details will be in the following 100 pages. So the kiss on the hand suggests all of the sex they're having. It's a metaphor. They met so near their lips that their breaths embraced together. What the hell does that mean? That they were close enough that their breath got together? He makes a completely normal thing sound bad. Villainous thoughts, Rodrigo, right? They're bad guys. They're cheating together. When these mutualities so marshaled away, hard at hand comes the master and main exercise, the incorporate conclusion. The conclusion of that is sex. Pish! But, sir, be you ruled by me. I have brought you from Venice, watch you tonight, for the command laid upon you. Cassio knows you not, and he gives us the whole plan where he says he wants to pick a fight. He wants Cassio to pick a fight, Rodrigo to pick a fight with Cassio. He's rash and very sudden in choler, meaning that he gets angry and he may strike at you, provoke at him, and blah blah blah. And this is going to get the girl that you want, because the whole plan is he says, listen, if you get in a fight with Cassio, then Cassio will get fired, and then Cassio's out of the way, and since Desdemona's in the market for a white dude, you're going to be the next guy she goes for. All right, and then he leaves. This speech here is Iago speaking by himself, and it's always most interesting. Iago's always his best when you get to hear him by himself. And of course, he's not really by himself. He's with you, the audience. And this comes back to one of those things we got to go over every day, which is that don't just talk about what happens to the characters and what they do to each other. Also talk about what Shakespeare does to the audience. And in this case, Iago speaks directly to you, the audience, and tells you his plans. And this is one of those great moments in the play that's fascinating because you get a look into Iago's psychology. I'm going to say this. You're not going to like this. I'm going to say this. Books, novels are extremely good at letting you know what's going on in someone's head. When you read a novel, you're talking about hours and hours and hours that may be in which the narrator of the novel can record their thoughts. If a character is narrating, if the voice in the novel is, I mean, obviously the author of the novel, but if you have a character in the novel, you're going to get to be in that character's head for a long time. Novels are extraordinarily good for showing what's going on in people's minds. Movies are extremely bad at showing what's going on in people's minds. In a movie, you can have an actor talk directly to the camera like Deadpool, but they don't do it for very long. It's an action movie. It's really just a joke. You can have characters kind of narrate their lives for you, but again, compared to a novel, you're not really getting a lot of words to work with. One of the things that students find frustrating about Shakespeare is that Shakespeare movies look like other movies, but they don't work like other movies because the information in movies you get visually from looking at characters' faces and looking at what they're seeing. Movies are very good at showing action, and novels are very good at showing thought. When you see a Shakespeare movie, you're like, oh, this is going to be like a movie where we're going to get a lot of action, and you do get action in Shakespeare. But what Shakespeare's really good at is showing thought like a novel. He just does it when they make movies out of it, they do it in movie form, but that's why there's too much talking. So this is Iago by himself. He's talking to the audience, and he says, that Cassio loves her, I do well believe it. That she loves him, 'tis apt and of great credit. See, this is what I was talking earlier about how Iago can almost program his emotions. He says, oh, you know what? I believe Cassio is in love with Desdemona. He has no evidence for that. He's just going to choose to believe it because it's going to further his plan along. And this thing about to great credit means it's believable. It's credible. He says that Cassio loves her, I do well believe it. That she loves him, 'tis apt and of great credit, meaning it's completely believable that she would love a good-looking young white dude like that. The more, howbeit that I endure him not, is of a constant, loving, noble nature, and I dare think he'll prove to Desdemona a most dear husband, right? Like Othello's probably a great husband for Desdemona. And then we get crazy. Now, I do love her too. What? Iago loves Desdemona, and that's why he's doing this? There's no evidence of that. This is crazy that he says that. One of the things I want you to notice in this play is when teachers often teach it, they often say, well, see, Iago hates Othello because he's black, and Iago is racist, and this is a play about race. And I totally understand why they do that, because Iago does say racist things. And then is one of the motives for what he does against Othello. He says, right, he seems like he's racially motivated. But Iago is so much more complicated than people understand. And one of the ways you can see that Iago is complicated is notice the reasons so far that Iago is doing this. Sorry, I keep lifting my head up like this because it's the only way to see the timer. Notice what Iago does. He says, I hate Othello because he gave the promotion I wanted to somebody else. And then he says, I hate Othello because he's black. And then he says, I hate Othello because Othello slept with my wife. And then he says, I hate Othello because I want Desdemona for me. Do you see there's almost like he's a little bit like the Joker. He's almost like schizophrenic. Do you remember that moment in Dark Knight where the Joker has these terrible scars here and here? And the Joker says, you want to hear the story of how I got these scars? And he tells a story. And then later in the movie, he says, do you want to hear how I got these scars? And he tells a different story. And then the third time he says, do you want to know how I got these scars? And he just tells a third story. And which one's true? All of them? They can't all be true. None of them? I have no idea what to believe from this guy. Same thing with Iago. He's such a trickster that he doesn't really... Remember early in the play he said, I am not what I am? It's hard to know. He's not himself. And so it's hard to know what he believes. But if somebody says to you, if you lend somebody, let's say you lend somebody your car, and when they bring it back, it's all fucked up. And they say to you, oh, listen, I'm sorry, I got in an accident and caused a damage to your car, but it's not my fault. Also, the car was fucked up when you gave it to me, and I didn't even cause the damage. Also, that car's not damaged. It's fine. Do you see how that's like you can't be all three of those things? Iago's the same way. He's like he gives possible reasons. These are all possibilities, and Iago just doesn't distinguish between them. He's just like, well, he just picks how he wants to eat. Remember earlier he was saying you control your feelings, you control your thoughts. He controls his beliefs, and he just changes his beliefs for whatever fits his occasion. So he'll just be like, okay, I'm in love with Desdemona, or Othello slept with my wife, or I'm racist, or I'm mad because he gave the promotion I wanted to somebody else. He doesn't have a center. He doesn't have a self. He's like a he just programs himself in the moment to believe one thing for a purpose, and then he's out. So I'm going to end that video.